Hello and welcome to my CV course. My name is Ewan and it is a delight to have you here. And thank you for purchasing the course. So my first point is to say there is no right or wrong answer, right? Take everything that I am saying with a pinch of salt. Now, there are some qualifications there, okay, when it comes to writing a CV, but what I wanted to highlight here is I would encourage you, by all means, listen to my perspective. It is, from my point of view, totally right. Okay. But you will find so many different opinions and viewpoints and rules from him, rules from her, perceptions from them, right? That there isn't necessarily a right or wrong answer. You choose. This is very important. It's what are you comfortable with? So my aim with this course is to talk through a whole load of points and then essentially give you that baseline to say, look, here's my view, and I think it's accurate. Generally speaking, this is the way I would do it. Again, it doesn't mean it's right or wrong, but then that's a baseline that you can then say, yeah, I like that, I don't like this bit, that makes sense to me. Because what I think is important is to ask around, get the perspectives of many different people. When it comes to CVs, when I say everybody's got an opinion, I mean that. Now, often you'll see viewpoints, shared viewpoints, unified in one department, in one company, and then different in a different division in the same company. For example, we want to see education at the start. Your CV must be one page, not two, or etc., etc. So my summary point here is, look, I've got a lot of information I've put down here on video. I think it's accurate, but it's very much down to the user viewpoint, right? What bits do you like? What bits do you not like? A lot of us are searching for the right answer, especially when you're coming out of academia, where there is, generally speaking, there is the way of doing it. This is how you do it. You get points or you don't. When it comes to CV, how would you like to do it, right? Because often submitting a very strange format or a different format or something different, it can make you stand out. This is my point about, I'm going to say, do it this way, think about it this way, try this way. But at the same time, sometimes you can win the job. You can get the job by doing the complete opposite. You can get the job by submitting a CV that simply says, I'm good, here's my phone number. Right? Now look, it's just about how the individuals interpreting that react. So in some cases, someone might get the job with a CV that says 4 words in it, right? Now, I'm being a little silly there, but I just wanted to give you that viewpoint. So stand by. I've got a lot to take you through. Let me just give you a summary of the approach here. So next, I want to make sure you've got my context. I'm going to introduce myself briefly, but so you've got context from my point of view. I'm going to give you some things to think about on how your CV is going to be received and processed through an organization. I'll talk through how people read your CV, because that's an important one as well. Understanding how the document's going to be used, I think, is important. I'll touch on CV length, because again, there are some standard approaches, there are some right and wrong answers when it comes to CV length. I'll talk through CV style. I think style is very important. So how you lay out your CV and how you present that is important. Then we'll look at consistency. This is how your CV is coming across and how consistent you are in applying style and approach and so on. Then I'm going to cover the main sections of your CV. So, for example, your contact details, photos, yes or no, etc., etc. The summary. Are you having a personal summary? Let me take you through that, because I have some strong opinions on that. How to lay out your experience. So I've got quite a lot on how you would lay out and present your experience, because that's where I think most individuals are in need of some degree of guidance, right? And how you lay out your experience to a hiring manager who wants to understand how good you are. I'll take you through the bullet point structure when it comes to experience. I'll take you through styles for different professions on a very high level, because you'll see some particular professions have a way of doing things. Legal, for example, medical, scientific. Sometimes tech CVs are slightly different. Then I want to take you through education, how you present your education. And interestingly, I've come to education after experience. There's a hint, right? Depending on where you are in your career, education is important at the top of the CV or not, right? Depending on your perspective. We'll come to qualifications, certifications, how you're putting them down. Then we'll talk about skills and how you're approaching skills, because I see a lot of mistakes from my point of view. Right, I think we can upgrade the skills section on almost every CV. We'll look at voluntary. Sometimes it's quite useful to have voluntary positions in there in the experience section, projects, and then I've also got an other section to talk through interests, publications if you've got them, and other aspects. Right, typically this is at the bottom of the CV. References, we want to look at how do you manage references, and then formats of the CV, describing your CV in interview. So I don't want to go into interview technique, but I do want to give you a view on how to walk through your CV with interviewers. Then let's talk about tailoring your CV. I know that this drives people crazy when I'm suggesting, look, it is quite useful to have a CV tailored to a particular role. I'll talk through CV updates and the update frequency, because often it's when you don't need a job, that's when you should be working on your CV, because it gets quite frustrating if all of a sudden a situation arises and you need a CV very quickly and it's not up to date, or you just haven't got a decent one or one you're happy with. So I'll put in a section there. I've got a section coming on that. Then we come to information accuracy and confidentiality. I want to make sure that I'm giving, I would hope, a really good reminder on not giving away confidential data in your CV, but at the same time making sure your CV is accurate. And I don't necessarily mean accurate in saying don't lie. It's often, or it's generally completely opposite. It's the individual not giving good enough information, right? Make sure you're giving the correct picture. Don't undersell yourself. So I want to come to that in that section. We'll touch on confidentiality, and then I'll give a final summary. So that's our course overview. You're very welcome. Thank you for taking the time to watch this video. And now I'm going to go into each of those sections now. Sometimes it's just me talking. Other times I'm going to show you some stuff on screen. Right. There we go. That's our introduction overview. Now, let's begin.